This is a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee 3.6 liter with leaking oil cooler. This is the transmission you're seeing. I'm underneath the vehicle here. And this is what you'll see when they leak. You'll see it, you know, normally on both sides. When they leak really bad, the bell housing will just be covered in oil. So that is the telltale sign that your oil cooler is leaking on a rear-wheel drive application. On a front-wheel drive application, it will be leaking, you know, right where the motor and trans come together. So if you have a town and country or a Pacifica or a Caravan, you're gonna see a lot of oil here, you know, in this area. On Jeeps and stuff, you more so see it back there. Okay, so today we are doing the oil cooler or oil filter housing on a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee. They're pretty easy job on the front wheel drive vehicles like town and countries and caravans and stuff. The Jeeps, they kind of suck. They suck because the two brackets on the driver's side, the two support brackets for the intake. And that's pretty much the only reason why. Otherwise, they're the exact same job. All I've done so far is just taken the intake tube off and the purge solenoid. Had it broken. The plastic piece on it's broken. That line breaks a lot, so you can replace it or just put electrical tape on it. It's up to you. I would replace it, but I've seen a ton of them with just tape on them. So I'm going to take the throttle body off just to get it out of the way, because there's a bracket back there that bolts the intake to the cylinder head, and it's kind of a bitch to do. Taking the throttle body off makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to take this off. Way, and you can see we got a couple of these metal harness security tabs like this. It's just a piece of metal that slips over either plastic or metal. This one's on plastic, this one's on metal, and it just secures the wire harness. So just pull up on it, it'll come off. Vacuum line. I believe this is for the booster. I don't know. Can't remember. I'm gonna follow it. It goes right there and over here. So supplies vacuum to a solenoid up here on the front. I don't know what the fuck that is. So and then yeah, booster. Okay. Stuck. There we go. Gentle, because that's plastic. So rubber over top of plastic. So just go squeezing it and forcing it on. And this is the map sensor. Behind that, there's a little Christmas tree that holds this harness in. If you can get that out, then you can move this whole harness out of your way. However, it's easier said than done. So you got to kind of work around the harness. You can see there's a 10mm there, and then I think there's one on the back too. It's kind of stupid. But believe it or not, this is the easy one. bracket on the driver's side is the hard one. I don't know if I'll be able to record the whole video with reinstallation. I'll try though. I'm going to try to do everything, you know, without skipping anything. There's a vent tube back here that's fastened onto this bracket. We got to get that off. I can feel the other nut now. There's a vent tube for the transmission that comes up back here. You'll feel it. It's like a little rubber hose with a plastic nipple on the end of it. You got to bend it down out of the way, and then there's a nut behind it. Try to get something back there. Get that nut off. Alright, well, like I said, this is the easy one. Actually, see it if you come over here. Got it. You can just barely get your fingers on it. I should say, don't waste your time trying to take them studs out. Chrysler, in all their fucking geniusness, they put washers. So you have like your stud, and then, you know, the piece of metal, like for the bracket, and then they have a washer that's built onto that stud on the other side of that bracket. So if I were to try to put a Torx on this and take this stud out, it would just pull that bracket with it and possibly break the intake. So don't do that. Don't try that. So, you know, don't do that. That would be dumb. I do have to get that harness off eventually. Might as well fight with it now. Like I said, it's probably gonna break the clip. Yeah. Pretty much everyone that I do, I break that fucking clip. I should just do it, get it over with, but I always try to salvage them. I don't think I've ever salvaged one. Oh, there we go. So that's out of the way now. And then I believe you have to loosen this bracket. I don't remember.
not have to. No, you don't. You take that side off, and then the intake goes that way. That's right. So, let me reposition this camera over here. Get you a little better view. Let's see. Where can I clip you on? Two brackets over here, 10 mil. There's one here and then one back behind it. But I don't think you're gonna get off easy. It is not that easy. You gotta loosen those bolts down there on the cylinder head too. And these AC lines are in the way. There. Got that one. Those are the easy ones. And then you've got a Christmas tree fastener holding a wire harness onto this front bracket. You have to take that off, otherwise you can't get on the nut down there. And then once you have that, yep, there's a Christmas tree fastener on that one back there too. And you got to get down underneath, and you can get that one too. Not down underneath like under the vehicle, but you got to go from underneath all these fucking lines. This is a pretty shitty part. More shitty than the part you just watched on the other side. Significantly, actually. Nice. So if you get lucky, sometimes these will be like hand tight after you loosen them. If you get lucky. And I thought I did, but I didn't. It's going to be one of those instances where it's too tight to turn by hand and not and too loose to turn with a ratchet. So gotta loosen this enough to get that bracket off of that stud. So, there we go. We're good. Oh, now the fucking hardest part. Which, it's just a headache. I mean, you hear me bitching because I do these fucking things all the time and I hate doing them, but you do end up making your money on them, so. But this is the worst part here, because this one has the stud just like this front bracket. It has the same design, but it has a nut that holds the AC lines to it, and then behind that is the nut for the stud. So you got to undo one completely to do the other one, and then that allows you to loosen the bracket so you can take the intake plenum off. Chrysler is stupid. I mean, this design is so fucking poor. It's just dumb. These are 13 millimeter, by the way. I don't know if I said that or not. I don't think I did. So I reach down here. hands as big as mine, this is almost impossible to do. Yeah, let me get a longer ratchet. Too long. Yep, it is. Let me get a shorter ratchet. Move that. Be very careful with it. I'm probably foreseeing I'm gonna have to bend these AC lines. I don't know. They're not AC lines. They're heater lines. These are the heater. These are the AC lines. Those are the heater core lines. Fucking light. I'd imagine if you had small hands, this particular part is not that bad. I just don't. Or if you drain the AC system, you could pull this AC line out of the way, make it a million times easier because this is a flex line. You could just, or take it off completely and get it out of your way all the way. However, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to fight it. But I am going to shut the camera off because there's no sense sitting here just recording and watching me fight this one nut. So, or two nuts. Okay, so I was wrong about that. The rear intake bracket. The piece that holds the AC line on is just a snap clip, which actually, as soon as I realized it, I remembered that's what it was. For some reason, I thought it was a nut on the stud, but it's not. It's just a snap clip that, you know, kind of like the things that Chrysler use on their brake rotors. Well, not kind of. It's exactly like that. That's what it is. So, once you get that off, which is damn near impossible, by the way. I just stuck a big pry bar in there and I stuck it behind the bracket and just kind of wiggled it until it made its way off. I think that's the only way you can really get that thing off. And it fell on the floor, so I got to retrieve it. But it's one of those things that's super easy going on and a fucking bitch to come off. So, anyways. Now at this point we should be able to pull the intake plenum off though. So I've got those loose and I should be able to just loosen these bolts in the middle here and she'll come off. Shoot. Find my 8mm. Where the hell is that? There's one bolt back here that's kind of stupid. then the other ones are easy. All the other ones are kind of right there. So. And this is threaded into plastic, so not really that important for coming apart, but when you're going together, you want to keep that in mind. It should be loose. Yep. You can see it's caught up on them back there. I'm gonna lift it. Oh, actually, I got one more Christmas tree over here. This thing, you gotta come away with it, but it should come out. And pull it this way. But also, you know, fighting these studs and the bolts. I feel like something's still attached. It was. Rear PCV line was. There we go. Okay. That's the hard part. From here it's smooth sailing pretty much. But now I can explain things pretty good. So you can see there's a bracket, a bolt and stud here, bolt, nut and stud. There's two nut studs over here, and then there's two of them over here. And you loosen these ones, and they fall back away, and then you can pull the intake like this. But once the intake plenum's off, it's pretty, it's pretty smooth sailing from there. You just got the injector wires or the fuel injectors unplugged, and then you unbolt the manifold, the lower manifold here, hold it out of the way. You don't have to take the fuel line off or nothing like that. So just move it out of the way. And then the oil cooler's right there. So I'm gonna take a break for a second, give me something to drink, and we'll be back. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is put some of this away real quick. And by the way, I mean just throw it on my toolbox. So first thing you're gonna want to do, disconnect the injectors, the fuel injectors, and then you don't have to, but I like to disconnect this Christmas tree fastener on the one side. That way it's out of the way of the intake. What's up?
Oh my god.
Tire shit?
Yeah.
You start there. I get it. Thanks. And yeah. So what I'll do is I'll disconnect this. That thing's gonna fall apart, by the way. And the way I like to do these, I like to grab them with a pick and pull up. And they usually always come up. Every once in a while I'll get one that like this clip will come out. Yep, like that. See? So that's okay. You can just stick it back in. Let's do one more back together. So yeah, grab the underside of the red tab and just pull up on it. They're kind of stiff. Stiff, but once you undo them, once you undo the red tabs, these things unplug actually pretty easy. Oh, that one broke. Depending on the mileage of your car, just expect that those are going to break. I mean, I'm using the perfect tool to get them off. And I'm probably not doing it as gentle as I could, but I anticipate them breaking. So, is what it is. You know, the zip tie breaks before the fastener lets go of the plastic. Nothing you can really do about that. And then on the back side, some vehicles there's one harness clip like this one here, and then other ones there's two, and this one actually has two of them. I can feel it. So some of them there's only one though. I don't know what the difference is. It's just the way the harness is routed or what. But you do have to undo those, or else this intake won't come off. Brown one underneath it if it has two. Can't get it. Oh, get a phone call. Okay, so I had a little phone call there. All I did while I was talking on the phone was I just reached over here and undid all the 8mm bolts that hold this on. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. There's 9 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is 8 of them. Okay, got that figured out. Now that it's unbolted, I just have this manifold. You can just move it out of the way. No, it's out of your way. So at this point, I would use a vacuum, and I would vacuum this shit out. I don't have one. So I'm going to try not to touch anything so nothing falls down into the intake. I am, however, going to clean the mating surface and make sure that nothing's in the way of that for the manifold gaskets. I would hate to do all this and then have a check engine light or a lean code or something dumb. if you didn't do it already, before you pull this oil cooler off, you want to drain the coolant. I did it before I started. There's a petcock down on the bottom driver's side of the radiator. Just pull the radiator cap, and then that petcock, all the coolant will drain from there. If you don't drain that coolant, when you pull this oil cooler off, coolant will fill the crankcase. Now I'm going to do an oil change on this anyways, but if I can prevent coolant from going into the crankcase, I'm going to. Now I'm going to put you on hold because the compressor just kicked on. Okay, now the compressor's off. You're going to need an E8 external Torx bit, and then there's 5 Torx bits or Torx bolts on the intercooler, oil cooler. Before you do that, you have a coolant temp sensor back there and an oil temp sensor, and then also a coolant hose that comes in. Well, actually, I believe it's the outlet. So you have to undo those. And same thing with these. I like to use the pick to grab the lock on it. That. Get it on. Well, I may just leave it on for now. And once I get the intake off, or the oil cooler off, then I can take that off. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try some 45 angle pliers, get a hold of this. I always seem like I have to get this thing and turn the clamp first, otherwise you can't really, because it's always facing a stupid fucking way. Just can't seem to get on. Got to turn it just a little bit. Try something else. Turned it a little bit. I'm gonna try to get on it with a pair of broken vice grips. I don't think I've ever actually done it this way, but I'm not, yeah. You're kind of watching a trial and error. Because I've done this so many times. And just kind of see if there's an easier way. There doesn't seem to be. 45 pliers, I can get right on it. The problem is, as soon as you try to pull the clamp off, it's split like that. Try and squeeze the clamp and then pry it off with pry the hose off. Get the clamp squeezed. Working. Now that I know it's working, I'm just going to go ahead and unbolt the oil cooler. Sure, eyes are just okay, now wiggle it, pull it. I'm gonna move you over here actually. See that or not? I don't know. That actually comes right out. I'm just retarded or something, I don't know. Go. Yeah. Try not to fling oil everywhere like that. Okay. You can see little to no coolant went in there. This is all oil down in there. And you can see back here on the trans, you can see how it's been, you know, they'll fill that valley up and then leak out over there. So I'm gonna suck all this oil out with my little sucker. And I'll be right back. I'm gonna clean all this up real quick. Okay, now you got everything cleaned up. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, the engine will run and it will get hot, and that, you know, residue and stuff will, without a new leak being there, all that that stuff will just burn off, so it's not a big deal. I did put a different style clamp on the back of this, so you know, that way when it has to be done again, because it will be having to be done again, it's easier on the next guy. You can just zip that clamp off. Plug in the oil temp sensor and the coolant temp sensor. Plug those back in, and I'll position this clamp so I can get to it. Run these bolts in. I kind of just start my way in the middle and to the outside. There's only 5 of them, so. There you go, you're done. Send the vehicle out the door. See you later. I'm just kidding. But, I mean, you are kind of done at this point. Because reassembling this thing is so much easier than taking it apart. Go, get that clamp tight, and then it's just the reverse, you know. Start putting everything back in. Make sure your gaskets are there. You can replace them if you want. These are molded O-ring gaskets. They don't, I don't know, I mean, they don't really wear out, so I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, well, you have to change those. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to. You want to save the money and not do it? Go right ahead. I did on a lot of these. Like, a lot of them. Probably a lot more than the person who's telling you you have to replace them. Start your way in the middle. Roll it out. Go. Click our plastic push pins in. Reconnect the fuel injectors. Change that camera angle in a minute. I know it's pretty shitty. Section goes under. Re-click all your tabs in. That one broke. Change the angle here. Good. There. Okay, the intake manifold, technically this is the manifold, is installed. You're good to go there. Now you just got to put the intake plenum back in. We've got our PCV hose back here that have to be plugged back in, our vacuum supply for the booster, and then we got this little harness that needs to be pushed over. But when you're installing this plenum, you want to make sure the studs line up in there. this is what you got on the back. You see these metal circular pieces? Those are a part of the stud, and these go behind that bracket. So what I was saying earlier, when you try to take these studs out, this whole thing comes out. It's so dumb. I mean, why they wouldn't let you just unscrew the stud, I don't fucking know. Because if you could just unscrew the stud, then you could just, you know, unscrew the stud and the intake would come right off, no problem. You wouldn't have to dick with those, you know, bottom bracket bolts on the driver's side or anything. It'd just come off. So, if only it were that easy. Try that. Alright, try that. This is kind of difficult sometimes. Sometimes it just seems to slide right in, but usually you end up fighting these bolts. Actually, that's what I'll do. So if you flip the intake upside down, you can actually push on the bolts a little bit, those back three, and that'll kind of secure them up in there so they don't get in the way when you're trying to sneak this in here. Oh, you know what? I forgot something. Damn it. Forgot a little heat shield or, I don't know, mouse food. That's all that fucking thing is to me. Good. Man, what's wrong with this extension? Snap-on quality, baby. Okay. These are in. Start reconnecting shit on the back. Well, I think my camera's about to die, but let's see. Yeah, I got 6% left, so about to die any minute now. At this point, all you have to do, obviously, change oil, top off the coolant. You got the two nuts back here, right here. You got the two nuts over here, here. You got to tighten up those two 13 millimeters, get that circlip back on the AC line, the vacuum boost line, the PCV line, and then this harness here. Put the intake back on. and you're done. I mean, that's it. These new oil coolers, they come with filters pre-installed. You can double check that if you want, but every one I've ever done, they've always had one. So, but yeah, I'm gonna shut it off and call it here. That's how you change your intercooler, or damn it, intercooler. That's how you change an oil cooler on one of these 3.6s.